Alright, so Duet Night Abyss has been out for a little bit, and I, like many players, have gotten the chance to really sink our teeth into the game and see what it's really about. As the title suggests, I've played about 40 hours into the game, and today I'm going to show you what you can expect to experience if you put in 40 hours into the game like I have. Now, if you've never heard of Duet Night Abyss, it's a free-to-play PvE looter shooter game with an anime style. Similar to games like Destiny, or Warframe, or First Ascendant, games like that. And also similar to games like Genshin Impact or Wuthering Waves in terms of aesthetic. So it's a good mismatch of different genres, and I feel like if you enjoy generally these types of games, I think you'll definitely enjoy Duet Night Abyss. Obviously, it has its own unique things about it, but just in general, it's very similar to these kinds of games. And some of you might remember the videos that I made about this game a few months ago when I played the closed beta test earlier this year, and I had a lot of fun. But back then the game was still a gacha game. It is now no longer a gacha game. There is no gambling. There is a little bit of gambling, but it's not for characters, or it's not for the gameplay. It's only cosmetic, so it does not affect how powerful you are in the game or how fast or slow you will progress through the story or the challenges. It's purely cosmetic. And as the title suggests, I did not spend a single cent in this game. So everything that you see, everything that I have, everything that I've grinded was completely free. So just for frame of reference, let's look at the inventory that I've amassed throughout my time in the game. And you can see there's a lot of stuff actually. Again, this is all free. I didn't pay a single dime. And I got a lot of characters, like 9. And I got a ton of weapons. These are all craftable and grindable just by playing the game. You do get some for free. Some of them are events. So if you are interested in getting the game and playing the game, I suggest you do it sooner than later, because some of these events might be limited. Not too sure. Definitely, if this game was still in the old system, the gacha system that it was in the beta test, I would not have this many characters. 100% I would not. But I'm just showing you this to demonstrate how generous this game is. Out of all the games in this genre, no other game is more generous than DNA. And like, honestly, there's not really much you can criticize about that. They're just giving more stuff to the players, you know, letting you experience more things that are not behind a paywall. I mean, how could you hate that, right? But for you guys who are addicted to gambling and want to see that spinning wheel spin, or the slot machine slot, you know, there are still ways for you to put money into the game and get your fill of RNG if that is your vice. Now, is it necessary? Absolutely not. I haven't spent anything, and I even have a couple of cosmetics just from playing the game, and you can get some of these for free as well. But on top of that, the stuff that you can buy looks pretty sick, honestly. So putting money into the game would also be worthwhile if you are really into these cosmetics. There's also a little battle pass that you can buy, and it will give you certain upgrades and whatnot in the game. Some extra material for you to level up your characters and weapons and whatnot. Although it's not necessary at all, because there's no daily login stuff, which for me was my biggest gripe with a lot of games like Warframe, Genshin. All the games that are inspiration for this game have some sort of game mechanics that I dislike. And this game takes these game mechanics and they address them, and they say, we're not going to do that. And I really appreciate that about the dev team in this game. So, for example, there's no daily commissions. There are a little bit, but you don't really need to do them. They're not that essential to your progression in the game. They're really not. So there's no pressure to log in daily at all. My biggest problem with Warframe is like the daily standing caps. So if you want to progress through the game, you would have to log in regularly for the reset of the daily cap. Gacha games, on the other hand, would have things like daily like resin or stamina or whatever that you would have to refill in order for you to do missions and then gain rewards back. In this game, there's none of that. You can do the missions infinitely. If you want to grind for coins, you can do it as long as you want, as long as you need, whenever you want, which I think is insane. You also don't have to really explore at all. Like, you don't have to go explore and pick up items on the map for anything. Honestly, they're still there. I don't know why they're there. Honestly, it must be used for something, but to level up your characters and make them stronger, you don't need them at all. So there's really no need to explore. And they also don't reset. I know a lot of games have like this mechanic where they have like items in the open world that you have to collect, and then when you collect them, they respawn like the next day or in like 3 days or something, and then you have to go back and collect them again. But in this game, all the things that you need to collect to level up and build your characters, you can get them whenever. And that's really convenient because when you unlock a new character through grinding, or even if you buy it, you can level it up from 0 to the last level instantly. You don't really need to wait at all. There are certain things that are on a timer. There are weekly bosses and weekly rewards that you are not allowed to infinitely grind, but you do get 5 opportunities to grind something. So every week you will get 5 chances to do a boss and then get the rewards that way. That being said, it's still very generous, even though there is a weekly reset for certain materials. But regardless, I think it's really nice. You know, a lot of people don't have time to play every day. You know, sometimes you come back from a long day of work and you don't want to log in. You know, you just want to relax, and there's no pressure for you to log in. You can just do it tomorrow and it'll be fine. You're not missing out on anything. Your daily stamina or daily resin isn't gonna cap out, and you're not gonna feel like, oh man, I'm gonna miss out on progress because I didn't log in today. There's none of that. And for some people, they much rather play the game for like 12 hours on a Saturday once a week rather than log in, you know, 7 times a week, like for half an hour each time. You know, for some people, they don't want to do that. They can't do that. But they can manage, oh, I'm gonna log in on the Saturday and then play for 12 hours straight and then get all the things that I need to get done to build my characters, and then, you know, have a fun time that way. Some people, that's what they want to do. And with this game, you could definitely do that, and it won't hinder your progress, and you won't fall behind your friends or peers or whatever. And I think that's one of the large issues with games like this. You know, if you're progressing through the game with your friends or something, you're all grinding characters together. Sometimes you do it asynchronously, where your friend will log in every day, but you don't have the time to log in every day, so you only do it once a week or 2 or 3 times a week, and then your friend will just go way ahead of you in the game. But in this game, you don't have that problem, and there's no pressure at all. You know, it's more relaxed. It's more consumer friendly. They don't try to pressure you into investing a ton of time or a ton of money into the game. They invite you to. And I think that's very impressive that a game would do that. But also concerning almost. Like, how are they making money? I know a lot of people have this sentiment about the game, but like, genuinely, how are these guys making money? Again, I have a pretty decent account, I think. Now, don't really have anyone to compare it to, but my account is pretty okay. Like, and I'm happy with my account. I got some pretty decent characters. I have some nice weapons, and I'm happy with it, right? But I have no need to spend money at all, or no desire to. And I've spent money in other games, but in this game, everything is just so easy to get. Like, I don't even know what to spend money on, genuinely. Maybe some of the cosmetics, but I don't really care too much about those. I almost want to buy stuff in the game out of goodwill. You know what I mean? To support the developers, because I feel bad that I get to experience this game for free. You know? And even if you did spend money in the game to buy characters or buy weapons, there's still a lot of things that you need to grind anyway that you can't buy. So a free-to-play account versus a whale account in this game doesn't really mean that much. Like, in the grand scheme of all things, like, you can spend a lot of money in the game and still your account would be pretty bad, because you need mods, and you need, or in this game they're called demon edges, you need these to power up your builds. And no, like, even if you put money in the game, it's not gonna get you these mods. You still have to grind them. So there is still a certain degree of actually playing the game that you have to do. You can't just pay to progress throughout the game. And also you have to get the trial experience as well to get access to certain things. So even if you do put a lot of money into the game, there's still a lot of game to be played. You can't just like pay your way to the end game. You really can't. But that's enough about that. Let's talk about the gameplay, what you're going to be playing. Is it fun? Is it engaging enough to keep your attention? In my case, I think it is. Now, in a lot of ways, it is a little bit simplified compared to other games like First Descendant or Warframe, which I've played previously. There are less zones. There are a little bit of less enemy types. The enemy types aren't as sophisticated in my opinion. Obviously, it's still the very early stages of the game. These things can be developed on in future game versions, but as of right now, it's not as intricate as the other games. But that can also be part of the game's strengths, in my opinion. For me, I like just sitting there and then just pressing E and Q and then E and then shoot sometimes, you know, and then just grind it out. You know, I spend a lot of time just like late at night, just like chilling, listening to music or watching a TV show or watching YouTube, listening to my girlfriend snoring, and I'm just chilling, playing the game, not even paying attention to anything, just vibing out. That's nice to me, you know. I like that kind of experience, and I get that when I play the game. Honestly, I crave it too. During the day when I'm not playing the game, I'm like, you know what, I want to go home and I want to log on and then just like press E on a bunch of mobs, listen to my girlfriend snoring while she's sleeping, and then like watch Yu-Gi-Oh 5Ds. This has been my life for like a whole week, and I loved every second of it. You know, you just forget all your worries and you just almost idle. And you can idle in the game. You can literally just idle. You stand in one spot and press E every now and again. you're grinding characters, man. It's I mean, what more can you ask for? Genuinely. But there are some engaging parts of the game. It's not just solely brainless, mind-numbing, just decimate mobs for a few hours every day. There are bosses that you can do that do require some form of thinking. And there is different challenge modes. There's a roguelike game mode, which will give you certain rewards, which is decently fun. It's very similar to if you've ever played Honkai Star Rail. I think it's very inspired by that system, the simulated universe in that game, where it's basically just a roguelike. There's also challenge modes that challenge your builds, and they give you certain rewards for that, and those are really fun as well, to really test how well you've built your characters. But outside of that, it's mostly just grinding different materials to get the different weapons, characters, whatnot. and also the modifications for those characters and weapons, which I don't mind at all. I don't mind. Again, it's a very niche thing. If you're not into that kind of thing, then that's fine. You know, the game might not be for you. But outside of that, there is, of course, the story, which I think, in my opinion, is one of the strongest features of this game. And honestly, it has one of the strongest stories out of any game in this genre. Okay? I said it. I genuinely enjoy the story, and even if you don't like this kind of game, I highly recommend you play the game just for the story. Because it's a really nice thing to experience. And I think it's very refreshing as well. A lot of games like Warframe or games like Honkai or games that are in this genre. I know this game is like a kind of a broader genre, but a lot of the games that this game is inspired by have very convoluted stories. So convoluted and so lore heavy that it's hard to keep track of, and it's hard to even care about, honestly. But this game, it's more about people and characters and their morality and different philosophies and circumstances at play. I'm trying to describe the story in a way where it's not spoilers, but there are some cliches, there are some predictable-ish moments, but for the most part, the story really plays with your expectations and surpasses your expectations. I think that's the best way to describe it. And there's some real stakes. There are real stakes, there's real urgency. It's a little bit melodramatic at times, but I think they do it in a very balanced way. There's some wittiness, there's some goofiness, but there's also some very serious topics that they address and some really interesting character dynamics.
We wouldn't stand a chance. Do you have another idea?
Take off your clothes.
What?
What? What? I was very pleasantly surprised by the story, and on top of that, the casting and the voice work just brings it all together.
You're young, with many years ahead. There will be other opportunities for glory. But today, the old man here will seek one more medal. And he isn't keen on sharing it with any of you.
And the best part are the characters. The characters are very well written, in my opinion. Again, there's some cliches, there's some predictable elements, but at the same time, they execute it very well so that it's still impactful, even though it's a little bit predictable. And even when it's predictable, they still add in some spice, some plot twists to make it interesting. Again, to play with your expectations in the best way.
But he never asked if I wanted any of this. Just like you never asked if I wanted to live knowing you sacrificed yourself for me. Neither of you know what I actually wanted. I never wished for a hero who shielded me from the rain. My wish is that if there's only room for one under the brolly, I'll brave the rain with you all. I wish that we make it out and live on together.
Daphne.
It's all very classy. You know, it has a very nice aesthetic. It has a very nice feel and a very, very interesting lore and world. You know, that is different from obviously our reality, but at the same time, convincing enough for you to draw parallels from your own life and the narrative, you know, which is, I think, is a sign of great storytelling when you can see yourself in the characters, or you can see the humanity in characters that aren't even human, that aren't even of the same world that you're from, you know. So if you're not in it for the gameplay, I would say you should be in it for the story, which I personally really enjoyed. The characters are very memorable, very impactful, and the world, the lore, I just love it. I fell in love with it. I didn't expect to be hit this hard by it, but I want more people to give it a chance and experience the game for what it is, and I think it deserves it. And also, I didn't even mention the music. The music is amazing. The score is really great, and it really fits with the motif of the game. The fight music is really great. The game, all in all, is just very impressive, and I hope that the game will last for many more updates to come, and I hope that it only goes up from here. But there are issues with the game, which I'm going to get into. Even though I have a lot of high praise, there are still some criticisms that I have about the game. No game is ever going to be perfect, and I'm sure a lot of you also have the same grievances or hopes for future updates for them to improve on. Firstly, performance. Now, they did do a lot of improvements on the performance, which I really appreciate. And there are some server issues that I see sometimes. It might depend on where you live. I've had some, not that many, but enough to get people concerned. They are actively improving on them, and they have improved since the start of the game. But again, the performance for some people is a little bit shoddy, especially for a lot of people on different devices. People on mobile have been experiencing a lot of issues. I'm not sure if it's fixed now. I do not play the game on mobile. I play the game on Epic Games launcher on PC, and it's been very good to me in that case. But if you're playing on mobile, it might be a little bit wonky. But in terms of the core game, I feel like there are some improvements to the fluidity of the movement. There are some like glitches where sometimes I would dash in the air and it would just go backwards sometimes. I don't know why that is. Even though I'm doing like a neutral dash, it just like goes backwards for some reason. And the default is kind of weird. There's like an aim assist. There's like aim assist for like mouse and key, which I think is really weird. But there is an option to turn it off, so it's not that big of a deal. But when you first start the game, I'd recommend you turn off the aim assist because it's just weird to have it when you're playing with a mouse and keyboard. But other than that, it does run pretty well in general. Obviously, when there's a lot of visual effects and mobs on the screen, it's going to lag out a little bit, which I can understand, but for the most part, it runs really well. The other issue that some people have with the game is the lack of abilities. You only get 2 abilities. You get a skill and an ultimate, which differs from a lot of other games in this genre, like say Warframe or First Descendant, where you would have like 4 skills. There is a mechanic where you can get a genie mon, which is kind of like a monster that you can capture and then you can use it during battle, which will give you essentially another skill that you can use during battle. So it's actually more like 3 skills, but again, one of the skills is not based on your character. It's based on, you know, the monster that you capture, and it doesn't really do much other than just give you a slight buff or do some damage. It's still a core gameplay element, but again, it's not as flashy or as fun as a, you know, skill for your character. For me, it's not really that big of an issue because in other games you don't really use every skill anyway. Like usually there's like 1 or 2 skills that are just not that useful, you know. But in terms of diversity for gameplay, it does, having only 2 skills does limit you a little bit, I will say. But to me, that's not really a deal breaker personally. For others, it might be. If you don't really find a character or playstyle that you're particularly interested in, I can understand why that might be an issue. But from my experience, all the characters do have very unique abilities and usages, and there are a lot of different weapon types and weapons and modifications that you can use to make the gameplay experience different for every character and for every build that you have. The last potential issue is It is a little bit easy until you get to trial level 50. Like everything before that is really easy and you can like fly through it. You just press E and press Q on the mobs until you get to level 50, and then it starts to the difficulty starts to ramp up a little bit, which again is not really a big deal breaker for me. But if you're looking for a challenge, it does take a little bit for you to actually feel challenged in the game. But yeah, there's not really much of an end game. Once you finish or get to a point where you can finish all the challenge modes and then get all the rewards, there really isn't much to do. It does take a while for you to get there, but I feel like once I get there, there's just gonna be not that much to do other than just building characters. And then, but the thing is, getting the blueprints for weapons and getting the shards to unlock the characters, they're like level 40. So like these missions are very easy. You just do them super fast and super easily. So most of the game you're gonna be fighting mobs that are way under level for you, which I think is one of the things that they need to address, especially in the late game. But we'll see how they choose to address that. Cause like if you're gonna be like level like 80 and then you fight level 40 mobs most of the time to build the character that you want or get the weapons that you don't have already, it's not gonna be that much fun, I think, personally. After a while, it's still fun for me now because, you know, it's still new and fresh, but after, you know, a couple weeks or months, it's going to get stale. I just know it. And finally, the biggest issue that I have is, at least at the start, the weapons are very, very underpowered. It's honestly way better just to build weapons that power up your skills and then just use the skills from your character. The weapons do not do that much damage at all. In the early game at least, they're mostly used to just give buffs to your character's skills, which I don't mind it as much, but I do enjoy the gunplay a lot. And I do wish I could just shoot the gun more. But especially in the early game, like shooting the gun just doesn't make much sense because your skills just do way more damage. So yeah, I hope they will tweak that in some way. I don't know how they would do it, but the gunplay is fun, but it's just inefficient if you spend too much time shooting the gun because your character skills just do way more damage. And I talked about pretty much everything I wanted to talk about. Remember guys, this is not sponsored. I'm not getting paid by the game to say any of this stuff. This is my opinion. But if you guys have played the game, let me know if you're enjoying it. If you played the game and you didn't like it, let me know what you didn't like about the game. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And ultimately, I want the game to improve, and I want more people to experience it for what it is. And yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching. Good luck on all your games. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you made it this far in the video, and see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching. Peace.